Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining this heart-to-heart conversation. This is a presentation in the Freedom Summit series, Out of the Darkness into the Light. I'm your host Victoria Hart, and today we're talking with Aaron Jones. Aaron is a fairy communicator and artist. His passion is expressing and sharing the fairy frequencies of joy, laughter and magic through his many creations. He speaks fairy and galactic light languages, which he also shares through his social media channels to assist people in their unique ascension path. Welcome, Aaron. I'm super happy for you to be here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So many of us will remember reading fairy tales as a youngster and exploring the enchantment of the forest in our imaginations as the home to dragons, elves, fairies, giants, gnomes, unicorns, and more. And yet, as we move into adulthood, life becomes serious and we lose that enchantment, that magic. And without that connection to nature that we once had, we can be prone to sadness, fear, anxiety, and depression. And so to move out of the darkness and into the light requires deep introspection. So I'm curious, Aaron, what does that mean to you? And would you like to share a little of your journey of awakening?
Yeah. Okay. And when you say for me, you mean out of the dark into the light?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just see. Let's see what I should say. Yeah, I love that little intro that you gave because that has been my path. You know, I kind of growing up, I experienced a lot of challenge for me, especially at school. I had a pretty tough time, and I was uh, very focused on the negative and feeling like a victim because of all the things that had happened, to me at that point in my life. And it actually took my path of and the continuing path I'm on because it is continually a journey, right? Coming out of those experiences of depression and anxiety, the thing that kind of brought has been helping and assisting and um, building for me has been that connection with the fae, with the fairies, with the gnomes, with the elves. So I can go into a little bit about how I started connecting with them, and yeah, and then we can go from there. Okay. Oh my goodness. So, um, let me see if yeah, okay. So, the first memory I have, which is connected to them, is well, there's a couple of things, but I'm just going to go with this one first. When I was little, I used to pretend to be a flower. So like, I don't know how to explain this except for it was a very strong knowing or a soul understanding that I understood that consciousness or that frequency of the flowers. Because I would like I don't even know how to say this. It's like I would shift my energy into being a flower. Um, so that's kind of like the very, very early experiences. But I think it was when I was about I mean, I was always drawn to magic, and not like magic in its sort of purest form, the things that makes you feel like that the world has a certain sparkle or rainbow energy to it. That was the magic I was drawn to, right? But it wasn't until I was about, I think it was 18. I mean, I've had quite a few different things happen. Uh, quite a few different things happen, but strictly fairy, I was about 18 and I was doing some digital artwork on my computer. And I had I had an aloe vera plant at the time, and uh, it was like kind of sitting next to me while I was doing my artwork. And all of a sudden, I remember I had I I had this experience where the plant started talking to me. It was really like it wasn't subtle, it was very loud. It was like I was being communicated to by a plant. Um, and I never forget it. It gave me the analogy of the seed and how you can't rush a seed's growth. And it was a message to me at that time, because at that point I was wanting things to happen a certain way and um, to happen now, right? And it was that message of what's it called? Of slowing down and not rushing my growth. And then I think after that, I just started, my awareness opened up to everything. So, like, trees started talking to me, and then I had gnomes come and visit me, and then unicorns and fairies. So it kind of all happened after that experience. Um, yeah, so that's kind of like a short story of how that all happened. Yeah.
That and what came through as well when you were speaking was, of course, this whole rushing. We're rushing through life and we want to be somewhere, and it's only when we start to have these kind of experiences that actually the only moment now is now, in this present moment. There is nowhere to get to, nowhere to rush to.
Mm,
And the more we can appreciate those moments, the more it does open us up to that magic that you were talking about.
mhm.
And the same with our different levels of awakening. Again, we can't force these things. It will just happen when our soul is ready, essentially, when we're ready to allow that in.
Right, it's completely organic. Exactly. It's like because we're coming. I feel like it's spoken so often, but like we're not separate from nature, and nature does things in its own time, its own space, and we're the same.
Seasons, right? So we also have seasons, and I think winter, certainly in the northern hemisphere, is more of a time where we do sort of go within and hibernate and kind of get those creative juices, maybe that will seeding, like you were saying, and then ready to start sprouting in the spring. So that's what I'm hearing from you. So let's talk a bit more about the fairies, because obviously you connect a lot with them. I'm curious, like, how they communicate with you, and in what ways have they really helped you on this path?
Yeah. Okay. Um, so it happens quite a few different ways for me. So sometimes, well, first of all, when the gnomes came to me, first of all, I saw them through my clairvoyance. They just came into my room, and that's happened with me with quite a few of them. They'll just come to me, and I'll see them. But also I hear them telepathically as well. So, and also frequency wise, I will feel them. So, um, yeah, I can even feel them right now. I can feel the fairies right now. They'll come in and uh, I can just feel their frequency. It's like a joy comes over me, or it's like other times I've heard them like laughing in my ears. Um, um, and also what they've done with me a lot is, I'm sure other people have experienced this, like it's that synchronicity. So you'll be walking somewhere and all of a sudden you'll look on the ground and there's a sticker of a fairy. I've had people come up to me and say things. I remember when I went to Glastonbury, I think when I was about 18 or 19, and I was walking and someone I met in Glastonbury, they saw me and they said, "You've got fairies in your aura." Um, so it's like also the outside world has like brought those things. I mean, I've had people say to me, not knowing what I do or who I am, they'll come up to me and say, "Oh, you look like you were away with the fairies." I have no idea, no idea, what I do. Um, and obviously the other way I connect with them a lot is through myself. So I'm of the belief, and the things that I feel inside of myself, but also been told, is that I have been a fairy before. Like like I have been part of those realms. And it's like I am that energetic and energy. So um, it's not so much just that the way that I connect with them is outside of myself. It's also something I embody, and that was also where a lot of my Fae light languages come from. It's not so much bringing through a specific channeling a specific being. It's like I'm either bringing it through an aspect of myself or just the frequency. So yeah, those are kind of the main ways I see them or experience them. Yeah.
Thank you. No, it's fascinating. Yeah, like I'm very visual, so I like to try and get a sort of image of your experience.
Yeah.
And in terms of like freedom, so obviously this is the Freedom Summit series,
Mm.
and would love to know, how has their presence assisted you in finding more freedom in your life, and what does freedom mean to you?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll start with the what does freedom mean to me first, and then I'll go into how they've helped. Um, so my earlier life was like a lot of feelings of feeling trapped or stuck in situations that I didn't feel comfortable or safe in, or that was just my experience. And on one level, like freedom at the beginning of my life was sort of about having the freedom to go and do whatever I wanted, like go off. I mean, I went to art school, studied fashion. I mean, that was a lot about freedom and liberation and, expression. Um, but a lot of freedom to me now is about uh, liberation of self, um, feeling like I'm free to be me. And that really isn't about other people putting any restrict. It's more about like genuinely uh, giving myself permission to be me, but in that knowing who I am. And I mean, that's a whole thing, which we can get into if we want to, but freedom, yeah, is that freedom to be me, to uh, be my frequency, and to listen to myself. Um, yeah, and then how the fairies have helped. Oh my goodness. Okay, so much, so much, so much, so much. I think in terms of like the way I'm designed in this lifetime, um, I feel I really am here to embody the playful, like inner child frequencies. Like, I mean, people have said this to me before, like that people always ask me how old I am. I mean, I even had like a friend I was talking to a friend like maybe about a week ago, and they said to me that they were we both worked at the same place, and uh, someone asked how old I was, and they were shocked to hear how old I was because they thought I was like 17 or 18, but I'm like 25. And it's like um, those sort of youthful, playful frequencies, that's how the Fae have really help me step into my freedom of self. So, like, yes, speaking the fairy light language, it's like the frequency that comes through literally feels like freedom. It's freedom of expression. It's like a soul expression that, like, I feel free to like finally speak. I remember when I started speaking the fairy one, it was like I was able to sort of release my joy in a way that I couldn't otherwise if I wasn't speaking that language for some reason. It was really important, especially coming from the places that I came from. That depression and feeling like a victim. It was like, oh, this is my joy finally coming through, and it felt very natural um, and then obviously they're my friends as well. So it's like really nice to have um, uh, elemental, like nature friends. I mean, it's been like so uh, so important in my life, because I think that for me anyway, I've definitely felt like I don't belong. Um, and having, my fairy friends, the gnomes and the elves coming around, and it just makes me feel more uh, less alone and more. And then obviously they just play with me all the time. So so we're doing artwork. It's such a co-creation. So yeah, it's just like for me, it's been a missing piece of like freedom to be me. The fairy energy has been a huge part of myself that I've kind of reclaimed. Uh, I don't know if that answered your question, but
So it does. And as you were speaking, I think as from the introduction, we're involved in that as children, and that's our reality, really. And then it's only when we start to become move into adulthood that we sort of lose that essence. And rather than then we start sort of seeking sort of material things to bring us joy. And of course, that only has a limited expiry date, really, doesn't it? And if we can get back to that innocence, which is our inner sense and our inner child, it's our doorway to back to the inner child, which kind of got I guess maybe frozen in time as we were, invited to become an adult and stop daydreaming and stop making up stuff and stop imagining. And yeah, so I'd love for you to share, because for me, I think reconnecting with that inner child in us is our true self, is our authentic self. And it's the one that's kind of got lost or left behind and hidden in the shadows. So yeah, share how some of the ways that we can connect and bring that joy back into our life, and also reconnecting to nature, which is essential, I think, in that process.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the first thing I would say, even before I begin, is like I think this is a really important point with anything, right? I just want to honor that like we're all extremely unique. So the things that have kind of worked for me, or the things that I found helpful to kind of get me into my inner child, it's because it was me with me, me working with me. So only take what feels right for you, and like, what just I just want to honor the fact that we're all individuals and unique. So really you are the one that knows um what makes your inner child sing, right? Okay. So, the things that are kind of helped for me is, first of all, connecting with the fairies. It sounds silly, but it's like, well, it's not silly. Because their frequency, they embody that energy. So having them around and working with them, just it helps you get into that frequency. So I usually the way I do it, I'll just call on my fairy guides, of love and light, or I've connected with them so much now that it's just an energy thing for me. But I'll ask, because we all have fairy guides, we all have fairies, gnomes, elves, whatever kind of resonates. But the fairies specifically, the littler nature beings, in my experience, are very joyful. Okay, 1 minute. There's a bit of light language that I need to bring through just quickly. Um, okay. Sometimes what happens with me is if I need to share something, especially sometimes it just needs to be shared through the frequency instead of the words. So anyway, I'll carry on. But um yeah, connecting with them, that's really helped. Also one of the things that I found very helpful is to watch movies that are have a magical quality to them. So one for me, that I just, oh my goodness, I can't watch it all the time because it's like it's actually with me and movies. A lot of movies make me cry, but just so many different reasons. So I tend to not watch too many. But do you know the movie Narnia?
Mm.
Okay, that one really brings that sort of magical quality, same as Lord of the Rings. But any sort of movie that brings forward that feeling of magic, I think really sort of uh, awakens the inner child. And then let's see what else I do. Obviously, you have that piece. I think most people can Google this and find, the fact that doing the things that you loved when you were little. So, whether that was singing or painting or gardening or making food or, just anything. Anything you used to do when that was very playful and um,
Imaginative, I guess.
yeah, exactly. I mean, like even I don't know why this is coming in right now. When you used to play pretend, I don't know. Yeah, so yeah. Let me just see if there's anything else just before. Um, oh yeah, and dancing as well. Dancing, yeah, yeah. But for me, I really just I go with connecting with that fairy energy within inside of myself, and then it's like, oh, I should go do some dancing right now, or I should do a little bit of singing, or yeah, those are kind of the main things. But again, we're unique, so kind of whatever you used to do when you were little, um, yeah, those sorts of things.
I love that. And, I think some of us have become, so rigid or, um, we think things like that might be silly if we re-embrace them now as an adult. But, I delight in those things that you talked about. And I can feel that energy as you were sharing of how it does, already did and alive in every cell of my body. And so, is it really as simple as just connecting to that childlike wonder and innocence to experience the magic and awe of the universe, or is there something else that we need to do?
Right. And I also want to say as well, because I'm hearing it, that like um also part of connecting with your inner child, I think I mentioned it earlier, but like for me, the foundation of that is connecting with yourself. It's like you have um to access inner child, you have to learn to be comfortable with yourself and spend that time with yourself, because it's all well and good Googling and saying like, how do I connect with my inner child? But it's deeper. It's like having that like best friend, um, deep soul connection with yourself that
Mm.
helps you access, from at least from my experience, those like deep levels of inner child play and magic. I just wanted to say that as well. Yeah.
I think that's really important because I've noticed the more I connect back to mine, there's so much wisdom there. Um, and actually, I was going to say something else, but it's just gone out. But yeah, it's that wisdom. Oh no, and knowing what I need. It's because I've had to learn to reconnect to, well, what do I need in this moment, and even and feel feel myself in my body, feel my emotions, because I think for many of us, as you move into adulthood, we're then encouraged not to feel these things, to, not give it attention and to sort of smooth over it. And I know from my own experience that that's been detrimental for me actually processing and getting through the other side, because it will just show up again. And until I've gone into that and felt it, and, my inner child will always tell me what I need. And that could just be, we need to just go and rest. We just need to go and, some quiet time, read a book or spend time with my dog again. And it's either play or rest, I think, for the child. So thank you for sharing that. Really important.
And thank you for saying that as well, because I just what that just brought forward is like, here are the ways that you can go and connect with your inner child through play, but it's so important that you just brought that in, that also connecting with your inner child is like, yeah, being present with like the part of you that's scared, or the part of you that's like, I can't do this, or with all those emotions. So thank you for bringing that up as well, because that just completed it very well.
No. Yeah, that's something that I've, kind of had to learn later in life, which has been very beneficial when you actually pause and spend that time. And I think what you were saying earlier is, you can't just Googling these things doesn't work. You really have to sort of learn to feel it and embody it in your own essence, and awaken that in yourselves, I guess. So let's talk a little bit about, how does this knowledge help us with, where we are at the moment, and how we see our planet, and being able to nurture again our beautiful planet, because you know we are very disconnected as humans. We live in a very concrete world, and unless we actively take time to get out in nature, and half the time we have to drive to get there. So what can we do, and how will that really help us sort of bring this experience of the new sort of harmony in the new earth that we're moving into?
Okay. So the fairies want to talk again, so they want to respond to this first, and then I will speak. Okay. Tirato te maya tori kalo lo toshi mana no nori ala. Tore na 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 nori ala lo tora na kitoro. Karo te wa to no naro tole. Tori anaro kore si bado toro. Taro re nalo lo tiraka. Tore pira popori. Toro kore nana toro ko pipi. Paro pana turi. Puri kiti balalo. So okay, let's see. Can you just repeat the question again? Because that just took me out of where I was.
No, and I got chills when you were sharing that.
Let me say, actually, just before, the frequency I felt from that was like their speech, their the visions I was seeing as I was speaking. It was like they were inviting everybody to come connect, come reach out. But carry on, yeah. But that's just what I was feeling.
Yeah, I felt that, right, and sharing how magical it can be when we do reconnect with nature. So I asked, how can this knowledge help us to be more respectful and nurturing of our earth, so that we can shift more into this harmonious balance of the new earth?
Yeah. Okay. So I think that it's because all of this is about, this is what I'm hearing anyway. Part of this is about believing in magic again, and that's important. That's why it is important, because first of all, it gets us back into it's like putting survival stuff down for a second, and coming into that place of wonder and miracles, and anything is possible, right? And that's why it's important. Don't get me wrong, like, it's like, yes, connecting with our planet, but just for like a singular person, getting into that frequency, I'm like, gosh, I want to be in that frequency. I want to be in that, I want to be in that perspective. It makes life so much more exciting and playful and joyful. But yeah, also it's like the nature is so much more than what we're seeing it as. I mean, yes, planting trees and all of this stuff is really, really important, and trying to make better decisions, for the planet. But like, that's just 3D. I mean, the way I've experienced it is nature actually can look really different to the 3D eye. So like that I think the point I'm making is that nature is so much more than maybe how we're seeing it. And
Getting
that
a sense of
excitement.
aliveness.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like the that mystery and magic is something that is exciting and something that I don't know, I just feel like I always want to explore it all the time because it feels like it's a soul thing as well. Like we know, like human, at least in my perspective, human beings, like this is something that's natural. Like we know this. We've lived this before, you know, um, and just the age we're in at the moment, that's moving out anyway. But that age of density and seeing things from just a very 3D perspective, you know, it's changing, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the words that I picked up on you saying was, being in this survival mode.
Mm.
And, when we look around at the way many of us have been operating in the world and continue to operate, we are very heavy in our bodies with the weight of having to survive day in and day out. And, having lost that spark of joy because
Mm.
you can't really be in joy when you're in that survival mode.
Yeah,
Um, so to move out of survival, and again, we're all moving at our own time, but by finding that joy again and what lights us up and making choices around, yeah, what excites us and brings us joy rather than um, doing it out of obligation or doing it because we think we have to or we should do or oh well everyone else is doing it. So yeah, have you got a reflection on that?
thank you for saying all of that. Like, yeah, and also that's just I so relate to it because that has been my I think I've said this to you before. It's like I've always been on a path of like trying to find my joy, right? Because like I think a lot of people can relate to this. It's like all I want to do is be happy, you know, all I want to do is know what I love to do or know what brings me joy. And when you're talking about like coming out of survival and then starting to explore your joy, at least for me, and I'm curious to see what it's been for you, it's like god, that's been such a process because like I have been so uh, conditioned out of my joy through obligation, through this is how life is, this is what you have to do. And um, even just like coming back to that point of really connecting and exploring yourself, it's like it's taken time to go like, okay, and even to this day, like I still don't have a solid answer. I mean, it's still um, this might be a good question to ask you as well, but the things that bring me joy or that I love, I've been able to start to answer that question. I always used to be able to tell you what I don't want to do or what I don't like, but I would never be able to tell you what I loved or what I do like. Um, and also, I'm going to say this and then I'll hand it over to you with the questions. Um, that can change as well. And I think that that's important to acknowledge as well, is that what brings us joy can change. And that can be tricky sometimes because I think we connect a big part of ourselves into something that we love or whatever, but then it sometimes we kind of grow out of it. So what brings you joy? What has that path been like for you?
Yeah, and I think I like that you shared that because, and even if you want to use like the growing out of, I think also we can grow back into it as well. But it depends on what stage we're at in our life, what's going on. Maybe we're single, maybe we're in a relationship, maybe we're raising a family. All of those factors will bring different levels of joy, and I think finding joy first on our own, as you have been sharing, because until we know how to find our own joy and what makes us happy, we're often finding that we're looking outside of ourselves for someone else or something else to bring that happiness in. And then, of course, if they don't meet our expectations or how we think it should play out, then we're met with disappointment and feel let down. Which, of course, if we were able to cultivate that first within ourselves, then actually we can always be in that joy. We're not dependent on somebody else affecting that mood.
Mm.
And then what we were saying earlier is recognizing if we have slipped out of that joy, well, what's going on, and allowing ourselves to feel those emotions. And again, that connects us back to our innocence and our inner sense. So then we're able to navigate life a lot easier, because we are connecting to that part of ourselves which will help us to show us, what we need in that moment, or whether we're going in the right or wrong direction, or stop, pause before you take your next step. And those pauses, like for me, have been really important. So yeah, thank you. And for joy for me, similar to what you were saying, I was very used to knowing what I didn't like and had to really start to think, well, actually, yeah, what is it that brings me joy? And I'm a very creative thinker, so things like this, having these conversations, they really light me up, and I love preparing for them and being engaged in them, and obviously offering them and sharing them for other people to connect to, and certainly offering some like thought-provoking ideas that can help people on their journey, on their path. So this type, that's kind of my creativity. What else? I love spending time with my dog. I think she's a really good reminder if I've been sat at the desk for too long, and it's like, hang on, she'll come and pester me, let's go out. And I have noticed in the past where it's like, oh no, I can't now because I've got such and such to do. And actually I've really stopped using that as an excuse, because if I just honor her when she wants to go out and play, I find that it gives me another, what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of the word, but like I get that joy. It raises up my joy. I get back out in nature. I can connect again and be in that present moment with her. And then if I have got stuff to come back to, I'm actually in a more elevated space. Or maybe when I'm out with her, those are the times I often get like really, good ideas or hits of then what I can return to and start creating. So that's really important to me. And actually I probably, certainly as a child, I didn't like, well, as a teenager, I didn't like my own company.
Right, same.
Yeah, and I remember I must have probably, maybe I was around 16, 17 maybe. And I remember calling around some friends if they were available on it was a Saturday, are you free today? And no one was available. They all had something else to do. And how that affected me, I was like, oh no, what am I going to do with myself all day on my own? And I think I had to learn, like, just go and, if it was a nice day, I could lay in the garden and read a book and actually just allow myself to enjoy those simple pleasures of being in my own company. And then it literally flipped, and I started enjoying myself so much that I chose my own company or my dog's company over the company of people. So I think it's like finding that balance really for me. Yeah.
Man. Yeah. Mm. And I think it's just important that, I know we keep saying it, but I just keep hearing it, is that when we can be comfortable with ourselves, when we can be in a deep connection, a deep, deep, deep connection with ourselves, it makes life so much easier, because you're like, okay, I know myself. I know what I love. I can go create a life that I want to live, Whereas, like, if we haven't, I mean, there are some people, I have met some people where they're like, they just know who they are. They just know, and they didn't have to do the inner work. They just know who they are. They have that strong understanding of like, this is what I love, and this is what brings me joy, and this is what I'm going to do with my life, right? But I wasn't like that. But it's just, yeah, when you can give yourself that time to, you know, and love yourself enough that you want yourself to have a lovely life, you know? Yeah, I think it's important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what part of what I help others do is that what you said is create your life. And I think many of us don't realize or forgotten that actually we are powerful enough to create our life if we are present and we pay attention, and yeah, and making those choices around what we like, what we love, what we enjoy, over doing those things that we shared earlier about, oh, I have to do it because, or I should do it, or, and yeah, and actually we'll notice in our body that it makes us feel a bit contracted.
Yeah.
Certainly when we're doing what we love, we're expansive, and
Mhm.
we do feel elevated, and our body does feel lighter. It doesn't feel weighed down and heavy. So yeah, thank you.
Mm.
Um, I think it'd be a good time to share a little bit about your artwork because and your music, because we have sort of touched on it a little bit. So I'd love to know, and of course, if you've got any more light language that you think might be beneficial to our audience, then what wants to come through?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'll share a bit about my artwork and stuff, and then I do feel there's going to be another bit of light language. I do feel like the elves are going to come through a bit as well. But I'll leave that for a minute. But yes, my artwork. Okay. Well, it's been super fun. Oh my goodness, super fun. I love doing it. I recently made some stickers right now where they just have little elemental beings on them with like little phrases that they gave me to put on the stickers. Oh, I love it. It's so much fun. So one of them is like follow your joy, and another one is magic is real, take a break because that's important. There was, what was the other one? Trust yourself. Lots of little phrases like that, and all of the I do a lot of watercolor artwork as well. Um, just a bit of background as well. Obviously, I studied fashion at university, um, but also I did a lot of abstract painting and a lot of drawing, like super realistic stuff. And I've kind of got to a point in my creative energies where it's just about the frequency now. So all of the artwork that I do is it's really, really coded with especially the fairy frequency. So, you know, it's been amazing actually for me to do it because I benefit so much from even creating it and then seeing it, and I have a lot of my elemental friends come visit me and ask me to draw them, which is really awesome. So I've got quite a few that I need to do. I'm just like
Portrait sittings.
yeah, it's like exactly, it's like spirit art, where they're just like, okay, draw me now. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I've got all of my fairy artwork, and that's been awesome. It's just to bring a simple way to bring more joy and magic to people, because I do think that having conversations and speaking with each other is beneficial. But I also feel like because my path has been such an inner path, it's like just having a simple sticker or a simple like art print or whatever. It's just like it gives people just a little reminder sometimes, and sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need that. So yeah, and I'll say about the gnome one that I did as well because they're coming in. The first sort of like main fairy art piece that I did was from the gnomes. So this was when the gnomes came and visited me the first time in my room. And oh my goodness, they were so sweet. There was three of them in my room, right? And one of them had like a kind of like a clipboard or like a piece of paper that it was holding, right? Okay, so and I was like, oh, I wonder why they're here. So I was just connecting with them, and I asked them, what they were wanted and why they were there and everything. And eventually I understood, oh, they want me to do an art piece of them. So, and I was like, okay, because I love them. They're the best. I have so many stories from them. But anyway, so yeah, it was completely channeled. I mean, honestly, I look at what I did and I'm like, I couldn't recreate what I did in any sort of way. It was like they really, really was like kind of in charge, if you know what I mean. Like, and yeah, their frequency is so coded in that. And what they came in and what was coming through that art piece was the fact it was about gentle power. It was about the fact that that particular gnome that I've created that was on that piece of artwork, he embodied such playful, joyful energies, but he was so in his power at the same time. And I was like, this is a perfect demonstration of like where I want to be, where I'm as playful and joyful as a child, but also strong, confident, and in my power. And I was just very grateful and honored that I could share that and create that and share that frequency with other people. So, yeah.
I love that. And what came in as you said that is, of course, what we've seen of power in the world for many centuries
Yeah.
is that overpowering and suppression or oppression as a display of strength and domination. But actually, that true, authentic power of our true essence is that playful, loving, kind, assertive, confident energy. But it doesn't have to be over. There's no power over anyone. It's just standing in your power, in your truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a really important thing to share. Certainly as the year unfolds ahead, that people do find the strength to stand in their power, do find the strength to stand up for what they believe in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And yeah. So yeah, I do the paintings, do the stickers, and I also have some clothing as well. So I've got some light language clothes that I make. So yeah, some of them have got uh, fairy codes on them, very light language codes on them. And yeah, and some of the other ones are more of my galactic stuff as well. So yeah.
Okay. And yeah, because I've had it, and we will drop the link to your little Etsy shop because you can share a bit more about how those creations come about and how people can and buy their own. But what I haven't bought one yet. I know that I've said to you I will, and I want to, because I was looking, and it's like I'm curious. Is it just a case of being drawn to the energies? Because I know some of the designs you have sort of given what the frequency is. You've given a bit of an explanation on that. So is it a case of being drawn to the designs, and then when you wear them, are you feeling that frequency? Like,
Yeah.
share a bit more about that.
Well, that's the design of it. That is the design. So the process for me, I mean, I this is just how I create. Like the process of me creating is that I don't know. I don't have any agenda on what I'm creating. Like I don't have. It's like not an ego mental thing for me. So I will set an intention, but it kind of works two different ways. Sometimes I'm called to sit down and do a piece of artwork, like with all the codes and everything, and then I get told, and I feel it as I'm bringing it through, like the frequency of what this is about. So, like I remember one time I had no idea what I was bringing through, but I could feel the energy of like you need to create right now. So I did it all, and once it was finished, I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, this has got a dragon energy to it. So I was like, okay, this is dragon magic. That's what I heard. And I was like, okay. And yeah, it's about wearing a frequency that can support you. So, for example, the dragon one is kind of about magic, but also empowerment and strength, right? And then obviously the fairy one has more. The fairy one is really interesting. I don't even know how to put that one into words. And then I've got.
I imagine them being quite cheeky and in their playfulness.
Yeah. And then uh, I have another one which is very how do I even very lion, very Leo, very sort of like about expression and shining. And then I did a recent one which was more of a feminine code, because I'm starting to branch out into doing more women's clothes as well at the moment. But yeah, all of them are just designed so that when people wear them, it's wearing a frequency. And also, when people are out and about, they're activating people without even without even realizing it. Because you know, color and symbol, it all activates. It sort of like awakens certain things for us. And obviously, everything that I bring through is just about uplifting, supporting people, and just yeah, if I can be of service in that way, that's what I want to do. So yeah.
No, I love that. I hadn't thought of that, of course. I just thought about the wearer, but of course,
Right.
it's having, seeing or feeling that energy from the t-shirt. Nice. So we'll drop the link below so people can connect with your work and find out more. And I think that's where they'll find your stickers as well and other creations, wonderful creations. So as we come to the end of our time together, Aaron, just wondering if there was anything more that you would like to share, or if there's any other light language that might want to come through that will benefit our audience at this time.
Yeah. Well, okay, there's two things. I'll bring through the light language. I'm just going to ask the fairies if they have any final sort of messages they want to share with people, just because they're around. So I'm just going to connect in. If you can hear my dog in the background, I don't know if you can, but if you can, I apologize. he's, he's going through it. Okay. Okay. So the first thing I'm hearing is just a reminder that it's like an invitation to come back to magic and joy, which is what we've been talking about. But it's like that it's real, that inviting people to come back into their positivity. I think it's because this frequency of going from dark to light, or whatever, however we want to say it. But it's that invitation, and that it's real, and that assistance is there. I'm hearing dance and sing. Okay, yeah, and what I'm going to do now is just connect in with the elementals, with the elves, with the fairies, and I'm just going to bring through anything that can support the listeners for right now, what is in their highest and best interest that can support them on their path. So if we want to do like a little connecting with the earth, and then I'll bring through what's meant to come through. Okay, so if it resonates, I invite you to close your eyes and just start focusing on your breath, and in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just letting go of any stress, any worries, and really starting to come into the body. You don't have to necessarily consciously try to do this, just setting the intention just to connect with your physical body. And we're also going to just invite in Mother Gaia, Mother Earth, to hold us, to love us, to support us, to take care of us. Just letting her nurture you in this moment. Let her hug you, take care of you, because she does love you. So with that, I am just setting the intention to bring through some light language. I am setting the intention that all that comes through me is based in love. Okay, and I'm just going to connect in and see what wants to come through. Maloria yashala aye. Malananesha ka. Mala easha aye hea. Moria la shina. Malanoria sala aye hea. Mare ea sia. Toroshokia. Mala ana hahi. Tula malesha. Tula mahaya. Torekihi matorosu. Malanoria talana. Okay, just gonna breathe in those codes from the elves. Very centering, very grounding. Okay, so the fairies are going to come in now again. So this is really about activating your joy, your positivity, your creativity. And okay, let's just connect it. Aloha! Imanadoro kororo hika lole taranoho. Abradoko. Yanole karala polisi. Abara kododori kirira na alo. Tarokotara tararera tarahaha. Turikana na dori mayo talo kona. Tirihi. Alo tono na nanano to lele tala la 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 la. Torinalo todo chemo no na tala. Kopipipatu. Olehita ko uhu tiri I pero I pero no nalo tara titi tutu tutu titi 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 tutu just breathing in those cards from the fairies. And just know if any of that cut out, the audio, if any of that did cut out, just know you received the frequency. Okay, I'm just going to connect in one more time and just see if there's anything else before we close. I think that feels complete. So just taking in a few deep breaths, just knowing that you are loved, that you are taken care of, you are supported, you're not alone. And know that you always have support from Mother Gaia, from the nature realms, with whatever you're going to go do. So when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you. I really felt, so when the elves came in, I felt like this strong presence of just really anchoring you and grounding you and yeah, holding you in that presence. And then when the fairies came in, they make me feel like they're a little bit mischievous there, but it was the energy that I was feeling was just this kind of like beckoning, like come play, come into the forest and be enchanted once again.
Right. That's exactly how it felt for me. The elves, I felt just such a strong holding, grounding, centering, and just like, you got it. It's all good. Yeah, and then obviously the fairies, you know what they're like. They're just like, they're just everywhere.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for receiving.
Mm. Wow, thank you so much for being here. I will drop the link, so for those interested in connecting with you and finding out more about your work and your creations, they can do that. And I just think, I feel like this has been such a beautiful conversation and very much needed in the world today when there is so much heaviness around us. And when we look out in the world, there's not many fun stories going on. It's a lot of dense energy. So I think this is really beautiful and important that you've been sharing ways that we can connect and start living in that joy, and really experiencing what it will be like to thrive in life, rather than just merely surviving.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. So I've been speaking with fairy communicator and artist Aaron Jones, and thank you for listening to this heart-to-heart presentation brought to you by theconsciouscreationcoach.com, empowering you to create a new story of your life. Thanks for watching.